All right. Good morning.
Hi.
How is everybody?
Pretty good.
Great.
Everybody got your camera, got your microphones on.
Morning.
Get ready.
Oh,
People are still coming in. Yes. Good morning. Good morning. Okay. Okay, let's get right into it. Today, March 27th, 2024. Let's talk real estate. The post today is celebrating World Health Day. I don't know what you're going to do with an apple, but there it is.
well, eat it daily, they say.
Well, yeah, there's some, myth about apples. So we'll see. Does anyone want to try it? Does anybody want to try an apple and report back?
I have a banana a day.
Bananas are good. I think this was the only post. It's a good picture. So think about posting that on your social media. And what was it? The 27th. Boy, March is almost over. The third quarter is coming to an end. It's a busy time. We've sold 30 houses this year, and that's off to a good start compared to last year for us. So we're doing well. So here's a couple of thoughts that I put down. The best people do not accept failure as being a final verdict, because failure, like that movie says, failure is not an option. Well, that's ridiculous. Failure is part of growth. It's part of growth of any individual. It's part of growth of any business. So failure is part of the real estate business. It always has been, and it always will be. Some agents succeed out of a sheer desire and a work ethic, and some succeed because their skill set is so strong. And you can work on both of those. Some succeed because they have a very strong mindset as to what they're going to do and accomplish. But on the path to succeeding, you're going to fail. We don't just want you to participate in the failure that stops you. You don't accept failure because you know that if you keep being told no, there's always a yes to follow. So the message to that one is that you always learn from success, but don't just continue with what caused the failure. All right, knowledge equals confidence, ignorance equals fear. That's a great old saying from the world of motivational speakers. So these people feel good about themselves. And Mike Ferry wrote a little paragraph here. He wrote down, it's not just a big ego, as we've heard me say in the past, ego, if you cross out the E, what's left is go. Yeah. So we need to make sure that we are going in the direction of the goals that we've set, and we feel good and comfortable with the process. So what we're getting at there is it's all about knowledge and developing skills, because that gives you the confidence to go into new areas. So that's very true. So think about that, especially when you're attending something like this, because this is to gain knowledge and to gain confidence. That's why you're here. Well, make decisions quickly. So Gunther Klaus, who I've heard, he's one of the old black and white old days motivational speakers, one of the very popular ones back in the early days. He said the most important thing that a salesperson can do, or a leader can do, or a broker, owner, manager can do is make decisions fast. That applies to everybody. You want to make decisions fast. So you may ask, well, Gunther, if we're making decisions really quickly, what if we make the wrong decision? And he said, make another one, but just do it quickly. You don't sit there and labor and moan about the fact that you made a wrong decision. What you do is say to yourself, okay, that decision I made did not work. What decision should I make now to get myself back on track? That's a deep subject, make decisions quickly, because sometimes you do need to put some thought in, but sometimes a decision just has to be made. And it's more important that the decision be made at a particular time than it be the best decision or a perfect decision, because there is no perfect decision. And you can waste a lot of time worrying about things. You can pile up 100 unread emails because you can't make decisions quickly. And they just sit there because you're thinking about something and you're probably going to come back to your initial decision anyway after you do think about it. Some people get stuck in that. I get stuck in that of thinking about things too much when I already know the answer. And you have the centers of influence in your database. It's already there. This is probably the most important point. The best people see the value of working their database every day. These are people that know you and love you. These are people that enjoy you, people that trust you. They're your neighbors, your family, your friends, and they deserve the best service. They deserve service from you. Who better to give it to them? So call 5, 10, 15 people in your database, and you'll see the multiplication of transactions take place very quickly. That's your gold mine for your career. So let's take advantage of the new year, what's expected to be a great market, starting off to be a great market, and treat your business like a business. All right, let's look at our production. Our listings, and we have 25 listings today. And there's some interesting new stuff. Oh yeah, I can't wait to get to this. Kung, what do we have that's new?
We have a lot of transactions going on.
Good.
Unfortunately, no new listings at the moment, so we need to get our agents and our sellers on the market. Let's start calling and get those listings up. But we do have transactions by Nyath. Nyath has a new one in Madras under contract, as well as Stephen Burright. He has a Wilsonville property under contract.
Very good.
We have Kendall Miller. Her listing went under contract a couple weeks ago, and I'd like to give a shout out to her for that. That's her first one with the company. Very excited for that one. And Michelle Kovalev closed a big one on the 22nd, 1.5 million. So
Yes.
Congrats to Michelle.
Yes,
she
thank
has
you.
a couple more $1 million listings coming up in the near future. She's working with a builder at the moment with higher end properties. So if you have any buyers looking in that market, please let me know and I can get you in touch with her.
Nice.
Right. Very good.
And then does Faye have a few things going on?
Faye has a couple transactions under contract. That's correct.
Right. Yes.
Nice.
All right. Congratulations.
Woo, woo.
Okay. How's Washington?
We are busy. Things are really picking up here. We
Nice.
have in Longview, they have 5 deals pending. Barb and Stephen Burright just turned one in. Also, they have 3 closings this month still. Stephen Burright has possibly a buyer for his 1.5 million. He might be doing both sides of that. So that's really exciting. He's doing really, really good. He had 2 closings just this last week. And then Vancouver, we have 4 pending right now. We have 1 active listing, which will probably sell here soon because the renters are leaving this week. And we have 1 closing in, but those 4 pending are all really close to closing. But I think most of them are gonna fall into April, very beginning of April. And going on lots of listing appointments. Here in Vancouver, Kat went to one, she got one signed, that will be coming on soon. It's gonna be a fixer.
Nice.
And this is one that I gave to her like a year ago and I wasn't around and I said, do you want it? And she said, yes. And she's been curating this guy for a year and a half or something now.
Oh, good.
So this is a good one for her. And I have like 4 listing appointments and they're all going to sign. One of them signed already, and I know I'm going to get signatures on the other 3. So it is going to pick up. Listings is like Kuhn said, we got to just really go after those listings.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Nice.
So I think this is Steve Burrights I'm looking at with the pointing to the view of Mount Hood.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So it's,
St. Helens views and very nice.
oh, it's under the cloud. I see it. Okay, very
That's
good.
where it's at. Yep.
Where it's at. All right, excellent. Mario,
Sean, can
Sorry.
I ask you a question?
yeah, what's up,
Yes.
Grant?
Yeah, you mentioned the fixer. Is it on the market yet?
No.
Where's it
Well,
going to be?
I'd like,
So, yeah,
I'd like to talk to my people if I can and have them come on out if that's all right.
yeah. I don't know that the first one I have is gonna be working for your guys, so I've worked with him before. Because he's not gonna, the seller's not gonna go down really low. So that one might not work, but the next one I have is a condo, if they're interested. That one might be a complete trash out.
Do you know when?
I'm hoping to get the keys soon. I just talked to her right before this meeting.
Thank you.
Good.
Nice.
Okay.
I'll call you, Grant.
Thank you.
Okay. Mario, how's Idaho? You're muted. Nice pictures here.
Oh, I don't think he knows. Oh, there
Okay,
he is.
sorry
Okay, nice. It's all good.
Well, we had a really good week this week. And Augie won 3 new real estate listings, and he added the 3 to his 1 that he has right now for a total of 4.
Nice.
And he had 2 building lots for about 180 each, and he also has a 5-bedroom, 2.5 bath for 534,900. And he already currently had another 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath for 475. Lee Lanigan won a new listing this week. She has a single family home for about 700,000, a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 2754 square feet. Jeffrey has 1 listing, a building lot for about 300,000. And we had a few that are pending right now. Lee Lanigan wrote 2 accepted real estate purchase offers in Caldwell. And regarding closing, we have Jana Flores purchased a new CBH home last week, and Augie is closing on his new CBH home this Friday of this week. So we've had a lot of activity.
Yeah.
What's CVH?
CBH is Corey Barton Homes.
Okay, I was wondering, I was curious, you said it twice.
He's a builder here in Idaho that builds a lot of homes. He gets financed by someone in California. And so he is one of the probably one of the largest builders right now that is an independent builder, but he builds lots of homes here in Idaho.
Nice to know that, thank you.
All right. Excellent. This is an interesting house. I think you said this was Lee Lanigan's house.
Yes,
699.
it has a guest house as well.
It has a guest house. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a house.
Yeah, yes. It's more like a
It
barn.
looks like a saloon.
Yeah, it's a saloon house.
I
Yeah.
thought it was a church. I mean, look at that. That is
Why-
It may have been at one time, maybe.
maybe so. That is an unusual house. And these
Yeah.
are unusual pictures too. They
Kitchen.
tried to get the most in one shot.
Kind of an open space concept for sure.
Yeah, it's hard to say. These pictures are distorting it, but it's an odd house anyway.
Interesting.
Unique, John.
Yes.
I meant unique. Yes, it is unique. And
Struggles for the optimism.
right. Oh,
But
and I
it's
was
it is interesting, and she'll move it. She's a legendary.
now this is a beauty here
Yes.
in Napa. That's a beautiful house. Okay. All right. Good work, everybody. So our listings are increasing slowly, which is good, and they're selling fairly quickly. So good work. let's just quickly review the company and office events that are coming up. The Superstar Retreat for Mike Ferry, July 15th, and that's in Las Vegas at the Venetian. There is
My
a
favorite.
Century, yeah. There's a C21, the Florida 21 experience, if that interests you, in Orlando in July. The Realtors Conference in Boston in November. And the PDX, okay, and something closer to home, the PDX Branch Lunch and Learn on 3/28. And so that's tomorrow. So is this, tell us about that, Coog.
Yeah, we'll have representatives from OREF in person to present the 2024 forms update. This will be a good chance to see what the updates are, ask any questions you may have, and come talk about that buyer's representation agreement that is now required.
Yeah.
We'll have lunch provided. An hour of CE will be available. This is going to be an only in-person only class, so it's not going to be on Zoom or anything this time. But if you can't make it, reach out to me. I can get you a link to the OREF 2024 forms update online ed class that can get you an hour of continuing education, as well as get you the information you need about the updates.
Very good. Mario, you sent an email out. I didn't get a chance to put anything in here. Do you have something coming up?
Yes, we're having a NAR update webinar on the 10th and also on the 2nd. The Boise Regional Realtors is having one on the 10th. The Idaho Realtors is having it on the 2nd. So I'll be sending out an email regarding both of those later today.
Okay. Very good. Shauna, anything coming up?
I have to nail down the date still.
Okay,
I'm
good.
trying to do more live events. But I'll have that soon here.
Great. Great. And then Portland Branch, of course, meets every Tuesday at the office at 11 o'clock to go out and get some free food at open houses. We highly recommend that. All right. How's the market? All right. The news today, of course, is we're always looking at interest rates and there's no big change. So interest rates are remaining stable. Slight drop, 6.87. What does this say? Mortgage rates reversed course and edged slightly higher this week. Okay. The increase is likely to further discourage would-be homeowners from entering a spring buying market in which rates were already elevated, according to money.com. On Wednesday, the Federal Reserve announced it was keeping the federal funds rate at its current level of 5.25, a move that was widely anticipated. Yet the Fed reiterated that it still plans to lower rates robustly later in the year. All right, so that's good news. That's relief to those who'd worried that the central bank would use its March policy meeting to signal a weakening of that commitment in order to control inflation. So what they say they're going to do is very important, and what people believe they're going to do is very important when mortgage companies are setting their rates. So we're just waiting for something to happen. There's the chart sitting at 6.87. You see it had its peak back in late October, November of last year. The consumer price index, it actually went up. I just saw it went up to 3.3. So that's certainly not runaway inflation. It's actually not high inflation, which is anything over 5. Hyperinflation is over 50%. I don't think the United States has ever experienced that. So inflation is good, but they want it to be better. And the Portland Metro absorption rate, which tells you if you're in a seller's market or a buyer's market or a balanced market, it looks like we're at 3.2 months of inventory, which puts us at the edge of a seller's market towards a balanced market. So it's still favoring sellers a bit. And the affordability index is not out. I may take this out. If RMLS doesn't put these out in a timely manner, they're not of any use to us. So it was 84. I did a little research to see what it is nationwide. It's in the 90s nationwide. So it's not as bad as 84, because 84 is a low number for the affordability index. So I'll see about that if that's of any use to us. We get a lot of information here. Very interesting reports on, was it jobs? National Association of Realtors. It was not jobs. NAR released a summer of existing home sales, showing housing market activity for February 24th, which increased from January of 24. Let's see if I can find that report. Existing homes climb. Kuhn, what's happening there? You're muted.
Let's see what the Economist says. February 2024 existing home sales climb along with inventory. NAR released a summary of existing home sales data showing that housing market activity this February increased 9.5% from January 2024. February's existing home sales reached a $4.38 million seasonally adjusted annual rate. February sales of existing homes declined 3.3% from last year. So as you can see from the chart, seasonally adjusted annualized rate of the existing home sales in the US for 4.38 million. The national median existing home price for all housing types reached $384,500 in February. That's up 5.7% from a year ago. Regionally in February, all 4 regions showed price growth from a year ago. The West had an incline of 9.1%. That's good.
Yeah.
February's inventory of unsold listings as of the end of the month were up by 5.9% compared to last month, standing at a little over 1 million homes for sale. Compared with February of 2023, inventory levels were up 10.3%. It'll take 2.9 months to move the current level of inventory at the current sales pace. This is well below the desired pace of 6 months. Demand is currently outpacing inventory. That hasn't changed much.
Yeah.
It takes approximately 38 days for a home to go from listing to a contract in the current housing market. A year ago, it took 34 days, so a slight increase on market time. From a year ago, all 4 regions had declines in sales in February. The Northeast had the largest decline of 7.7%. The Northeast had the biggest dip of 5.9%, followed by the Midwest, which fell 3.1%. The South had the smallest decrease of 1.6%. So one of those is there's a little typo there. One of those is Northwest.
Oh.
Compared to January 2024, 3 of the 4 regions showed increases in sales, while the Northeast region was flat. The West had the biggest gain of 16.4%. That's good. I'm glad to hear the West is doing a little bit better.
Right.
The South led all regions in percentage of national sales, accounting for 46.1% of the total, while the Northeast had the smallest share at 11%. One little last bit. In February, single-family sales increased 10.3%, and the condominium sales were up 2.5% compared to last month. Single-family home sales were down 2.7%, while condominium sales fell 8.9% compared to a year ago. The median sales price of a single-family home rose 5.6% to $388,700, while the median sales price of condominiums inclined 6.7% to $344,000.
Unknown caller.
So this is a good blog for a lot of figures that we can let our clients know about, to let them know about what's going on in the market.
Very good. Yeah, it's a lot of good news. There's some stability. There's still a little conflict that prices are rising when there's a housing shortage.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit strange. But these are numbers that we do want to see go up. And of course, it was last January was not very good.
No.
So that's I think the pent up demand taking into effect.
I agree.
All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, check this out. I knew these were here, but the RMLS has some charts that come out every month on exactly what we're talking about when we talk about our elevator speech. And they have some similar, they're taking it, the graphic here is showing they're comparing this month, they're comparing February, and they're comparing it to January last month, the prior month, and then they're comparing it to the prior February. So that's what's in this chart. Now, the other stuff at the top that we usually talk about, those are rolling averages as of today, rolling averages over the last 12 months. So these numbers are going to be different. But I put this graphic here because I think you might find it useful in communicating with your clients. So if you are, emailing a new buyer and having initial conversations, this would be something nice to throw in there. Or if you blog on a regular basis, which you should, you need content for that. I recommend everybody take this blog and copy it and paste it into a new blog and then edit it down to what you think is useful to your people, and then sign your name to it and call it a day. And then you are constantly blogging new content.
Thank you.
That's just a recommendation. It's easier than you think. Nick, can you hear me? Can you see the screen?
Hi.
Hi, how's the market?
We are seeing increasing home prices as interest rates are expected to drop this year. Portland is currently a seller's market due to a shortage of inventory. Average days on the market is up to 89 days from 68, with 2.8 months of inventory. The median home prices have increased 3.8% over the last year, from 500,000 even to 519. The interest rate is currently at 6.87 and is expected to go up and down over time in this interesting 2024.
Very good. Very good. Is it a good time to buy?
I think it is.
Is it a good time to sell?
I think it's a good time to just, buy and sell and
All
keep
right.
the dream going.
You heard it from Nick, and I believe it.
Keep the dream alive.
Okay. So we'll only read one of these, but I have them all. And I would like, if Mario and Shauna, if you could look in your MLS, the Northwest MLS and the Caldwell MLS, and see if there's anything similar to this graphic that might be published on a monthly basis. Because I'd like to include that here too as a resource.
Okay.
So
Yes.
Okay, now everybody's ready to talk to your people. You know how the market is. There's some great training. So as I talked about, you can develop those skills and have that confidence, and some excellent programs here. So March 11th. So for Accelerate, we have April 8th through May 3rd, the Accelerate program, which is probably our most popular program. It's a longest one. I think it goes over 4 weeks, and there's a kind of a thick book that goes with it. And we have that online on the C21 Brokers Hub. We have that for you to download. So if you haven't taken that, definitely take it. Now's the time, as we're getting into the year and it's starting to get a little busier. This would be a great time to take that. And the same with the virtual Go list, which is going to start April 30th, which is a little bit shorter program focused on getting listings. And we highly recommend that. So take a look at that. And then the 21-day challenge, is coming up April 10th. So I'd love to see some participation in that as well. So go in there and take a look at that. All right. Okay, we want to talk about a couple of things, and we devoted last week's meeting to the NAR settlement and what that might mean to us. And we could have just a little further discussion on that. I wanted to show you something. That on the Productivity Hub, as we get new information, what's going to happen with this change is we can take what the NAR told us and what the state has told us, and we can explain that to each other and understand it. But what we don't know yet is what's going to happen when we sit down with clients and present that. We don't know exactly what the client's reaction is going to be. So there's a couple of ways to do this. First of all, we have to be in total control. So we have to be confident and know what it is we're offering, what we charge for our services, and what we recommend that client do in any given situation. So we'll need to be talking about this. And the other thing is we're going to need to gauge the public. You know, so let me go back to this because I want to remind everybody that I published our fees because Northstar can not set fees, but Northstar can recommend what you charge to represent. And Century 21 Northstar's commission is 3% of the purchase price to the buyer for purchasing a transaction. It's also 3% of the purchase price to the seller for brokering a transaction. So it's as simple as that. And you may notice that's the same fee we're dealing with today, in essence. That's the same recommendation. It's just per the NAR settlement, we are having to undo the buyer from the seller. They are not connected and not related. And then we want to understand that as you go in and you do your seller presentation and your buyer presentation, there's going to be some options. So the managers are here. And so let's kind of continue that discussion a little bit. And let me start with Kung, because Kung, one of your agents I was talking to yesterday, I told her that, and she said, I told her, well, when you take a listing, the fee is 3%. And she said, no, I'll charge 7%. Or she said, I'll charge 6% and I'll take care of the buyer myself. Or I'll sell it to the buyer and I'll keep it. And is she right? Is she wrong? Is that the attitude?
Well, some of the, some agents are sticking to the original way we're doing things, where you negotiate a commission from the seller, whether that be 5% or 6%, and they're going to split that with the buyer's agent. Or if they bring the buyer, they're going to keep that 5 or 6%. Again, all this stuff is negotiable. You can negotiate where, if the buyer's agent comes, you can split that commission with the buyer's agent. Or if you bring the buyer, you can have, a different commission that you agreed upon with your seller. There, right now there's a box that says, does the commission differ if sold in-house on RMLS? That means there's a different commission if you are representing the buyer's side, or if your company is representing the buyer's side. So, this is just, all it's saying is that commission is negotiable and there's different ways you can structure it. The general consensus from the producers and the agents who are, selling is that they're going to continue doing the way things are done. It's just the only difference is they cannot advertise what the buyer's agent's commission is in RMLS. The general, I just don't think there's going to be much of a change. You're going to continue, presenting to the seller the benefits of offering a commission to the buyer's agent. You're going to present the value that brings, a bigger presence, a bigger, bringing, opening up the buyer pool. It's so, talk to us managers and have conversations with your fellow agents, see what they're doing, how they're addressing this new change. In all honesty, there really isn't much of a change other than being able to advertise what the buyer's agent commission is.
That's the main focus.
Correct.
But I can't emphasize this enough. You have to go into these sessions with confidence.
Correct.
Here's the price. Here's the price. So I would go into that and say we charge 6% to list a house, and we also recommend that you offer. We charge 3% to sell a house. We also highly recommend you offer 3% to a participating buyer, because that's the state of the market today. And that'll give you the best chance of selling the house, of attracting a buyer.
Mary, did you have a question?
I did. So my question is, and sorry, I've been sick, but as a buyer's agent, what are some of the suggestions on how to approach that when you're talking to the listing agent?
You just have a conversation. Like I even started doing that. I'm working with buyers at the moment. It was clearly listed on RMLS what the BAC was, because that change isn't happening until July. But to start practicing, what I'm going to have to say come July, I had that conversation with the listing agent. Is the seller offering a BAC at the moment? And they were like, yeah, they are, 2.25, 2.5%. And we had a conversation. They were like, we're going to continue doing what we're going to do. We're going to really sell to the sellers what the benefits are to the buyer's agent if we offer that, by offering a buyer's agent commission. It's just going to be a conversation that you're going to have with the listing agent. Discuss if the seller is willing to make concessions on providing a buyer's agent commission, what they're willing to do. Some sellers are going to be pretty staunch about not offering it. And in that case, you should have already had a conversation with your buyer on what that means to them.
Okay. So in other words, as a buyer's agent, you're going to want to do your due diligence to make sure your buyer understands that they may be paying your commission to find their home.
Correct. And that's what one of the new requirements are in Oregon. We're requiring that buyer's representation agreement signed before any showings occur, before you meet them at the house or take them to the house. You have to have that conversation about commission with them prior to doing any work with them.
So, Kuhn, I have a question.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So you're with a buyer and they like a house, and that
Mhm.
listing agent isn't, or the seller isn't willing to pay the BAC.
Mhm.
Then what?
And you let your buyer know what the situation is. You let them know, hey, the seller's not willing to offer a commission.
Mhm.
Are you going to be able to pay that commission we agreed upon prior to me showing you this house?
Got it.
And since you already had that conversation with them, they should be aware that they're going to have to be responsible for paying that commission. The
Got it.
other option is that you just can't represent them in this transaction.
Right.
As buyer's agent, we have to understand our value that we provide to these clients, and we don't work for free. We don't do pro bono work. You can, I mean, it's up to you. You are an independent contractor, but I don't recommend doing pro bono work for the amount of work you're and the amount of value you're providing your buyers.
I agree.
We do a lot for our buyers. We schedule showings. We make sure everything is done correctly on the contracts. We take calls from them in the late evenings and on the weekends. We do a lot of hard work for our buyers. So we need to make sure we get compensated for that.
There are list of typical duties of listing and buyer's agents that you can actually, I think we should start creating, and we have them here if you want them, to provide for them. If you're wondering about what I do, here's a 3-page list of constant activities. And I think we should start providing that so that the public understands
Yeah, and
what
maybe
actually
even,
happens.
yeah, on both sides, because I remember when I
Yes.
first got into the business, you know, we were required to document every time we talked to a client, every time,
Mhm.
you know, we did something for the client. That way we could go back if it was ever a question. Well, here's
Mhm.
everything that I did for you.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And that gets back, you know, that's the for sale by owner training is full of you know, pleading that your existence is critical. And it is. It is. Yeah, there's a lot to this that's gonna unfold here. And one reality is, I hate to say this, but they don't have a lot of choices. There's only one profession in the United States that can help them with this. And that's sales associates. That's licensed salespeople in all 50 states. We were talking about, well, you can go to an attorney. Well, all right, you're going to go to an attorney. Well, the attorney's not going to go to the house. The attorney's going to sit at their desk for $400 an hour and do final things. They're not going to
Yes.
do what realtors do. They're not going to have the expertise that realtors do. And they can only deal with one client at a time. They can only do one specific thing for you, which is close your house. So there are no other professions that do this. The traditional way of doing it is kind of a natural evolution of doing it. And while I think it would be very ironic if after all this lawsuit and all these billions of dollars in penalties, and we actually revert right back to the exact same way we were doing it. That's ironic, but that is kind of a natural way of doing it. The seller wants to attract the buyer. Now, in today's market, not so much, but other markets, wow, sellers will do anything to get a house sold. They make all kinds of concessions. And when we get to that, well, the first concession you're going to make is you're going to pay the buyer's commission. So it'll be very interesting when July comes. So is it then what changes have been made now and what changes are happening in July? And Shauna, I think Kuhn told us, but what's happening in Washington? Is anything happening now, or are we waiting till July to implement these things?
Well, we've already started some new things starting January 1, where we have to have a buyer agency agreement. So that change is already happening. We're a little ahead. The only change that we don't have yet is the publishing of the selling office commission or buyer agency commission, however you want to say it. That's the only thing changing for us in Clark County and Cowlitz County, I think, right now. Other than that, not a lot is changing. It's pretty similar to what he said. We're just business as usual. I'm signing my listing agreements offering commission to the buyer's agent because the sellers want to do it that way. There hasn't been any pushback yet. There's been questions. People are questioning it and understanding the lawsuit is what they want. They want to know how it's affecting me, because people who care about me have reached out recently. They're just now getting the news and they're like, hey, are you going to be okay? You know, that kind of stuff. You know, people who know me and care about me have been reaching out and I'm like, yes, thanks for asking. Let me tell you about this. It's been really great to be able to share with them, just to remember not to listen too much and put too much value on what the news is telling you. That's been a thing. And one thing I want to add, and it has been brought up, but I want to stress how important it is if I do this as a sales associate, as a broker here in Washington. I always have my sellers review a net sheet at the listing appointment and have them sign it. And it goes in my file. If
Okay.
there's been a change, I do it again and have them acknowledge it. And if it changes again, if I get an offer, I do it again and have them acknowledge it.
Mhm.
You know how many times that has saved me in the past and in the future? That'll be even more important in my opinion. So
Wow.
if you want, it's a required document in our system for Washington. We, you don't get paid unless you're doing that at the time of your listing. It's that important.
Very
Like a boss. Listen,
Yeah, you don't like
listen to
surprises.
that. It's a lot of work, and I love that we're piggybacking that off of what we just talked about. This is what an agent does. She might send that 4 monotonous times.
It's saved me more than once to,
Right.
Yeah.
I've had people come back and apologize to me because they found that they did sign that and that I did explain how it works. And that was at the time of offer. So just make sure you're taking the time and making sure they're understanding their net. Sometimes it helps them get past an offer that they didn't really want. If they see their net and they're like, oh, it's not so bad. So
Right.
it's just a great tool, and the lawyers just love it too, I'm sure, because
Sellers
it
are
protects, yeah.
sellers are pretty straightforward. They're gonna pay the commission or they're not. They're gonna say yes or no, probably. Buyers are they're all gonna be individually customized based on a visit to their lender. Because they may come back and say, no, we want we can't afford this commission. We're gonna have to ask for the seller to pay some of it or all of it. And
Right.
lenders are actually working on this right now too, trying to come up with creative ways to get that commission financed into it. So, you know,
Yep.
talk closely with the lender, but the buyer process is still the same in that, yes, they have to sign a buyer agreement and they have to agree to pay a commission, but then they have to go to the lender and find out where they're going to get that money and how they're going to close it.
Right.
John,
Yeah.
I sent you an agency disclosure. We call it the blue sheet here in Idaho. Were you able to review that where it explains the role?
Yes, I have. Let me show. And so everything for you, Mario, in Idaho is starting in July. Is that
Yes.
correct? Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. All right. The page we're looking at, and I think I showed you, you go to C21 Brokers and the Productivity Hub, and it's right on the left. It's the second one on the left. And I have a lot more information, the buyer presentation. I have a lot more information to bring to this. But we've updated a couple of things. And if you want to cut and paste this when you're working with new buyers, if you want to Zoom with buyers and bring them to this page, that's another idea too. But we've updated the steps to buying a home, which are select a real estate agent to represent you. You'll be asked to sign a buyer services agreement and discuss with your agent how commissions are structured. So that's the difference. That's the first thing you do, is you have to consult, just like you consult with a lawyer and kind of give an overview of what you're looking for. You have to do that with your realtor now as well and understand that. And then the other steps are the same. Meet with your lender. Your agent will be able to refer you to an experienced loan officer who's familiar with all the financing options currently available. And then once you've determined a comfortable price range for a purchase price, work closely with your agent to locate and preview suitable properties. Your agent can arrange for all showings and work directly with the seller and their agents. Then be prepared to submit an offer quickly once you've selected the property. Your agent will walk you through the process, obtain digital signatures, and submit the offer to the seller. And then finally, your agent will negotiate with the seller on your behalf and will schedule all inspections Besides the initial negotiation on price and terms, issues may arise from the home inspection or appraisals. You always want to tell buyers that early, that there's multiple negotiations. Your agent is fully prepared to guide you through this process to ensure a smooth and on-time closing. So that's actually taken from one of our scripts in dealing with buyers, but I've turned it into a presentation to actually give to a buyer. And then these other drop downs, I'm going to actually put all of the agreements in here just as a quick reference. And so it'll aid us in our training. Each state's agreement will have the Washington, the Idaho, and California for the future. And then we have the same buyer questionnaires. And so that's essentially the same.
John?
Does anyone else have any questions? Any attendees? You can put it in the chat, or you can just turn your microphone on.
The
about
agency agreement, the blue sheet, is required today. It's been required for several years, where it describes a description of each of the agents. But the changes affecting the NAR litigation settlement, that's what begins in July.
Okay. Okay, well, very good. The biggest change, look, whenever we're working with buyers, they call up, they say, we want to see a house. You hop over there and you show them the house. And you don't do what you're supposed to do sometimes, which is get the little sellers, just the disclosure from the buyer, the agency acknowledgement, all of that. Sometimes we do that, sometimes we don't. We're going to get paid. Whenever they buy a house, we're going to get paid. That's the biggest change. We have to do what lawyers do. We have to sit down with them on day one and go over these agreements, and don't work with them until they've signed.
Which is great. I really think this legitimizes that side of the transaction in a way it's never been before. The other thing I feel like I might point out is this market this summer could change very rapidly, because I've been hearing from a lot of agents, both that I know that are with this company and agents within the company. We are seeing a big increase in listings because people are suddenly all excited. Oh gosh, wow, I only have to pay, whatever it is I work out. I don't have to pay that 6% anymore. Well, what they don't realize is they might rush a bunch of inventory to the market, and suddenly we've got a saturated market. So we could really push this to a buyer's market. But you know what? Who cares? We do it all anyway. But it's going to be interesting, because I've been hearing listings are going up, and we've been seeing that, thank goodness for us, in this company. Lots of new listings because they're excited. Well, okay, you might want to talk to them right now and say, okay, this is what we're seeing right now, but this could change within a couple of weeks.
It's going to be interesting. Yeah.
Just like the weather.
Just like the weather. But remember, you are the sky. Everything else is just the weather.
There you go.
Mhm.
Okay. All of this just reiterates that the best business to be in for you is to be a listing agent. Okay.
You have the product.
Now more than ever, you have the product, and if you can encourage them to include the buyer's compensation, that'll make it much easier for them to sell. That's very true today, and that's a better long-term business. Working with buyers is great, and
Right.
I think working with buyers now is more fun because they're going to take us more seriously.
Uh-huh.
We're not going to work with you without an agreement. We can't.
Right.
So that'll be different as well. So this is these are not bad changes. There's kind of a fairness in you pay your half, you pay your half. And that's probably what led to all of this. And so, well, now it's fair. Now it's open and transparent. So
Right.
that's good.
Yep. You just shimmy as you get down to one step at a time, one day at a time, and just shimmy as you need to.
Right. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a great week. And we'll see you next time.
Hey,
Get hold
John,
of us if you need
Thanks.
us. Bye.
John,
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
John?
Bye.
Thank you.
I hear
Hey,
you.
John.